here are 8 important settings that will ensure you're not ruining your chances of winning games in College Football 25. Now, the first few settings we're going to go over are going to be in the main game settings menu. So to do this on the home screen, you can tab over to the settings menu with RB or R1 and click game settings. This first setting might not seem like it would have that much impact, but since tackling is hard in College Football 25, it actually does. You want to make sure that your defensive heat seeker assist is turned to on, and there's some other things we can actually do with this to make it better. But basically, this is going to help steer any defender once you click onto them into the ball carrier. This will make it easier for you to lock onto the player with the ball and help make the tackle. Now, you also have a defensive heat seeker assist window, and most people think that 100% is as high as this goes, but actually, this can go all the way up to 200%. The higher you put this up, the easier you're going to suction to a player to assist you on the tackle. Now, some people might think 200% is a little too high. I've seen some people say that they actually think that this helps them better. I would play around with this anywhere between 100 and 200, test it out, and see which one works best for you. Now, for setting number 2, we're going to be staying in this main menu screen, and something that the best players know that you might not know is how good this next setting actually is, and that is the defensive ball hawk. You want to make sure this is always turned to on. Sometimes people have this turned off for some reason. It should be on by default, but definitely double check and make sure. This is going to make sure that when you click onto a defender or when you're usering on defense, this will auto move you into position to play the catch when holding down the catch button. This will help kind of steer your player more towards the ball, and this will help you have a higher chance at catching interceptions. If you turn this off, it's actually going to be a lot harder to catch interceptions in this game. Moving on to setting number 3, and this is the most important ones we're going to go over in this video. If you want to get the most out of your passing game and stop throwing interceptions, you need to make sure that your passing settings are on point. Now, there's 2 different settings that most people use, either revamped passing or placement and accuracy. Now, placement and accuracy does give you a little bit more freedom to freeform the ball, and more advanced players usually like this, but I typically recommend that most people play on revamped passing for multiple reasons. Number 1, it seems to get a lot less inaccuracies than the placement and accuracy setting for some reason, and this gives you much better ball trajectory, which allows you to get the ball over defenders much easier. Now, with revamped passing, you need to make sure that your pass lead increase is set to none. You can actually change this, and you would think that changing this would help, but actually leaving this on none is going to give you the best results. In terms of reticle speed, this should be on 20 if you're using revamped passing. This is actually going to help you have the most accurate passes, it's going to cut down on the interceptions, and it's going to give you the best pass leading and trajectories in the game. If you're using the placement and accuracy because you're more advanced and that's the system that you prefer, I would recommend putting the reticle speed around 7 to 10. This is really up to preference, but that's what I found works best. Now, really quickly, I do want to mention that I also have a membership where I offer my ebooks, my highest level offensive and defensive strategies. If you're tired of losing games and you want to take your game up to the next level, this is going to be your best bet. And I'm currently running a limited time 7-day free trial, so you can check it all out at no cost to you. There's multiple ebooks for both college and Madden, defensive schemes and glitches on the membership right now, and you can check it all out on the free trial with the link in the pinned comment below. Setting number 4 is something that's going to be the difference between winning and losing games late, and it's something a lot of people overlook. This is going to be all about the coin toss settings, and these are a lot more important than you think. A lot of people will have their coin toss first choice on receive because naturally people want to get the ball first and try to put the pressure on the other team by scoring. But the best thing to do with this is to have this on kick. The reason for that is because you will always get the ball coming out of halftime, and in the event that you actually come out and get a stop early in the game, not only do you have a chance to put up points first, but you also have the chance to get the ball after half, and you can really pile on a lead that way. But another reason why you want to kick first is because whatever your opponent does, you now know what you need to do to match it. If you kick off and then your opponent immediately scores a touchdown on their first drive, well, you know if you want to match them, you need to go score a touchdown. You know exactly what you need to do to keep pace. Now, for the second part of this, you want to make sure that the coin toss second choice is set to against win. This means if you lose the coin toss, the decision you're going to be able to make is, do you want to go with the win or against it? Now, the reason you want to go against the win is because in this game, this will mean that in the fourth quarter, the wind will actually be at your back. So if you have to kick a field goal late late in the game to maybe get a win or extend the lead, you want to make sure that the wind is at your back and not coming towards you, because that's going to make it harder to kick field goals. With the wind at your back, you'll actually be able to make longer field goals, so this is very important. Hey, if you're still here at this point in the video and you haven't subscribed yet, you might as well go ahead and subscribe, join the family. That way you never miss out on any of the best college football tips all year long. If you want to stop losing and start winning more games, make sure you're subscribed and you'll always have the best tips. For number 5, we're going to go over another crucial defensive setting that a lot of people overlook. This one's going to bring everything full circle. We talked about how to get the interceptions with ball hawk and how to make the tackles with heat seeker, but the switch assist is going to be crucial, because have you ever been in a situation where you accidentally got clicked on to the wrong guy and you thought you were going to be clicked on to somebody else who was maybe a little closer to the ball, and then you wound up taking him out of the play and messing everything up? Well, with the defensive switch assist, if you turn this to on, it's going to prevent that from happening, and this is set to default, so you might not even know that this is happening, but when you click to a defender now post snap, it's going to make sure that it helps steer you in the direction that they're already moving. So if you accidentally get clicked on the wrong guy or you switch stick onto the wrong guy, you're not going to take him completely out of the play because you were expecting to be switched to somebody else. It'll keep you briefly moving in the same direction so that you can continue going where that defender is intended to go. For number 6, you want to make sure that your auto flip defensive play call is set to on. You can also do this in your coaching adjustments in game, but if you just set this in the main menu, it'll always be that way. This is going to ensure that your defense is always lining up to the strong side of the formation, and you're going to want to make sure your defense is matching up properly with the offense so that you can get the most out of your defense. A lot of people struggle on defense in this game, but if you make sure all these settings are correct, you'll have a much easier time getting those stops and not letting up a ton of points. Now that we've talked about all of the main menu settings, we've got to move to the actual in-game settings that you want to make sure are on point. So for number 7, we're talking about coaching adjustments, and we'll start on the defensive side of the ball first. When you're at your play call screen on defense, you can click the right stick in as if it was a button to bring up your coaching adjustments. Now there's some of these that we don't want to mess with at all, and that'll be number 8. But for number 7, which ones do you actually want to change? One of the key ones you need to change at the start of every game is the option defense read key. You want to make sure this is set to conservative, because when people run read options, especially with fast QBs, if you don't have this set to conservative, the defense is typically going to leave the QB wide open and they will be able to run for ridiculous easy yards. If you set this to conservative, it's going to tell the defense to focus on the QB, and he'll actually lose yards in the backfield anytime they try to run a read option. So this forces them to have to make them hand it off to the running back into the teeth of the defense where you have more help. The next coaching adjustment on defense you want to change is tackling, but this is only situational. You want to put this on aggressive if it's late in a game and you're trying to get the ball back. If you're losing in a game and you want a chance to maybe force a fumble, put your tackling on aggressive. The downside to this is there is a higher chance of broken tackles and fakeouts, but let's be honest, in this game, broken tackles and fakeouts happen all the time anyway, so really putting this on aggressive doesn't hurt you that much because you're already going to have a lot of those broken tackles and fakeouts. But especially at the end of a game, if you're like in a do or die situation, you need some way to get the ball back, turn this on aggressive, because you will have a higher chance of fumbles because the CPU will go for hit sticks every time. Moving over to the offensive side of the ball, again, you click the right stick in to bring up your coaching adjustments. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever fumbled the ball late in the game and your opponent was able to get back in the game and tie it up or get a win because you fumbled at the worst time? Well, there's a way that you can prevent this, and that's why we want to look at ball carrier. You want to put this on conservative late in games when you have a lead and you're trying to run out the clock, because it'll make it to where you almost never will fumble the ball. However, you won't be able to perform ball carrier moves with this on conservative, but if you're up late in the game, you don't have to worry about that. Now for blocking, this is a situational one that you're going to want to use. If it's late in the game and you're inside the 5-yard line and you're trying to make sure you could power through and get that touchdown to go up late in the game, you can put this on aggressive, and this is going to allow your blocks to hold for longer. However, it does increase the chance of a holding penalty, but I find that holding penalties don't happen too often on this. They will happen very randomly, but if it's a situation where you need a few yards and you got a few plays to get it and the game's on the line, put this on aggressive to give yourself a better chance to score. For number 8, these are the settings you absolutely do not want to change under any circumstances. Now on the offensive side of the ball for your coaching adjustments, you want to make sure that your deep pass catching and your intermediate pass catching are always set to balance. If you put these on conservative or aggressive, they're going to always go for certain catch types that might not be the best thing to do in that particular situation. You want to make sure that you are telling your receivers how to catch the ball when it's in the air, so leave this on balance. And for your defensive coaching adjustments, the ones you don't want to touch, make sure your cornerbacks are set to balance. Some people like to match them up by overall or by speed, but this can sometimes cause bugs in certain types of defenses that can have your defense all out of whack. So it's just best to leave this on balance so you don't have any of those random instances where you give up a huge gain because something bugged out. And your defensive motion response is best left on default as well. Now that you know about the best settings, you're halfway there. Now what you really need to learn are the secret defensive tips that'll help you get a lot more stops in College Football 25, and you can check out that video right here on the screen.